good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Of course, I have got my cup of coffee. If you were here Sunday, you heard me talk about how I make some of my coffee, and this was one of those cups with my Chemex pour over. All of that involved process to give me this pick-me-up for this Wednesday morning. Thanks for spending these few minutes with me, and I hope as we get together, it is a good pick-me-up for you, a reminder about some things that God has shown us about himself through the scriptures as we look at it. We tried to start something last week, and that is kind of a big picture. What's the story of the Bible? What if we were just kind of take a quick overview of the entire Bible, and by quick I mean maybe 40 or 50 weeks, we'll see how long this lasts, of what the Bible teaches us. And as we learn from The Sound of Music and Maria von Trapp, let's start at the very beginning because it's a very good place to start. And the Bible begins in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 by saying, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth." From the first words of what we call the Bible, the scriptures, which we talked a little bit about last week, about what this book is, we see this reality that before anything else, there is God. In the beginning, God. It's a beautiful way to begin. It reminds us, and it doesn't remind us, but it shows us that the Bible doesn't argue for the existence of God. It is assumed that God is there. It is assumed that he is there before anything else, before there's history, before there's humanity, before anything else it is, there is God. And there's a theological term for that if you like to learn new terms. We've talked about this a little on Wednesday before, and it's the term aseity. God's aseity. It means God's independently self-existent. That God doesn't depend on anything or anyone else. That God is independent and existence itself, but everything depends on God for its existence. Aseity is the theological term that we use for that. And the Bible kind of starts with that way. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And it tells us that it was formless and empty. It's a beautiful, poetic opening chapter of the book of Genesis that goes through this kind of orderly account of creation, the days of creation, sometimes it's called, as it comes. And the neat part about it is the way it's organized. It's meant to be memorizable because it comes to a culture that wasn't literate like we are. It comes to a culture that was oral, and so memory and passing things down was very important. You can see that in the way Genesis 1 unfolds because it has some familiar refrains that God brings life and he brings order and he brings all that is, and it repeats each time God creates with this idea, and God saw that it was good. And so God brings, let there be light, or let there be dry land, or let there be birds or fish or animals, all of that. Whatever the creative act is, it describes on that particular day, that particular part of Genesis 1. And it says, and God saw that it was good. It also says there was evening and morning, the first day or the second day, and so forth. So we have these kind of repetitive things. But that idea that God saw that it was good is kind of important because as God creates, as this account unfolds of his creation, it's like this pause, this moment that God takes to reflect on that which he has made, that which he has spoken into existence. And in doing that, he sees and he says, it is good. And we see that, by the way. We can go outside, we could talk a lot about the problems or the troubles in the world, the things that are wrong we might feel like with what's going on in the world and all that sort of thing. And that's a story for another day. A couple chapters into the Bible, that shows up. But for today, the idea is that the creation is good, and you can see that. We live in the Keys here, in Key Largo, privileged to a few feet to the east. You can go and you can watch the sun come up over the water, and later that day, a few feet to the west, you can go and watch the sun set over the water. And I think a lot of times I see online people posting pictures of sunsets. One of our own folks, Video Dave, has a habit of posting those sunset pictures, and they are absolutely beautiful. And to see the variety, it's like no two sunsets are alike. You never get tired. You never get bored of watching the beauty of the sky with the clouds and the colors at sunset. Or you could go not really for us here, but you could go to other parts of the world, maybe see the majesty of the mountains. Maybe you're watching the Olympics and you're seeing the Italian Alps with the skiing and various things. There's just some gorgeous pictures of the villages and the mountains and just the majesty, the grandeur of the mountains is quite incredible. Or you could get to the intricacy that is involved, whether it's not the colors and the beauty of a sunset or the splendor of the mountains. It's the detail. For some reason I thought of a spider's web. I guess I saw one the other day. I actually walked through one. Is not fun to do, but if you were to take some time and we're hiking different places, maybe the Everglades or around, and you see the spider's web and you see all the intricacy, and that's nothing. If we could go and get a microscope and see the intricacy of a human cell, and it would just be remarkable, all that goes into this created order. And we can see why God looked and said, wow, this is good. And in this creative story that the Bible tells us, this unfolding of creation, that's the theme that we hit over and over again. And God saw that it was good, and God saw that it was good, and God saw that it was good. And why is it good? Because all of the goodness of creation points to the goodness of the Creator. The creation reflects the goodness of God, and it is remarkable to think about that. In fact, elsewhere in the Bible, we're told that the heavens declare the glory of God. That you can go outside and look at the stars, or look at the moon, or look at any of that, and you say, wow, the beauty of nature declares the grandeur and the glory of God. But one of the things, and we'll get into this as we go because we're still really early in the story, but one of the beautiful parts about this book that we call the Bible is while it tells us of this all-powerful, self-existent, incredibly and infinitely creative God, it tells us also that this God, as great as He is, still desires a relationship with us. That as grand and as mighty and as holy and as powerful as God is, He still is the one that Scripture would tell us is intimately involved in creation, is intimately involved in the created order and in our lives. Whether it's the psalmist who talks about God knitting us together in our mother's womb, or over in Luke where we're told that He has the hairs of our head numbered. And I guess this is where I make the joke. Some of us make it easier on God than others, but I'll just move right past that. But whatever it is, this idea that God knows us and He's intimately involved in the particulars of the created order, to know us that well from before we were born to even the hairs of our head, all of that is in God's purview. And this great creative God desires to know us. And we see how He demonstrates that desire. He demonstrates it as we're told in the New Testament. God demonstrates His love for us, because that's part of what breeds that desire, is His love for His creation, in that He sent His Son Jesus, who died for us. The story of the Scriptures opens with an infinitely creative God who makes a good world, God's good world that we're in, that we even see glimpses of today as we look around. But that God desires to know us and is intimately involved in our lives and invites us to know Him. And so what we get together and what we do as a church is talk about who God is and who He's revealed Himself to be as we see here as our Creator, but also the fact that in history He has acted in ways in intimate relationship with His creation, fully and finally by sending Jesus so that we can know Him, who is our Creator. And we'll talk next week about what it means that we are created, particularly in His image, and how that impacts and influences the fact that we can know Him. But for today, I just encourage you, hey, if you have some time this week, go and get in nature. Go and get outside. It's for us down here, it's a beautiful time of year. It's not blessed hot like it is in the summer and some of these cooler days. It's not super cold where we're wearing 17 layers and hiding inside, where you can get out in the warmth of the sun and the beauty of nature. Go see that sunset. Go take in the beauty of the created order and be reminded of our infinite, all-powerful, creative, and self-existent God who demonstrates some of who He is through this good world that He's given us to dwell in. Well, those are my thoughts today. I'm going to go finish up the rest of my really good cup of coffee. Hey, this is a reminder of the goodness of God, right? That this plant that has berries that have beans inside, that when you dry them and roast them just right, you get a wonderful beverage that I'm going to finish enjoying today. And I'll leave you to finish maybe yours or whatever it is you've got on your agenda. Thanks, as always, for spending just a few minutes with me. And I look forward to taking this journey through kind of the big picture story of the Bible with you over the next week. As always, or next weeks, I should say. As always, Sunday mornings, 9 a.m., we'll be here worshiping, talking about this great and creative God. Love for you to join us. So until then, have a great week.